Good morning, everyone. Agutevach, Shavua Tov. We are continuing here in the words of the Beis HaLevi as he describes to us the importance of working on the midah of AHAVAS YISRAEL, loving your fellow Jew. And today we're starting chapter 4, Iser v'chomer hasina, which is the prohibition and the severity of the hatred of hating another Jew. V'im chalila nisayir ba'oit sina, and if chas v'chalila, God forbid, a person is aroused and awakened to have more sina, more hatred of another Jew. Milvad shemevatal mitzvahs, I say, besides the fact that you are violating a positive commandment, which is, of course, v'afta l'recha kamocha, you have a mitzvah to love your fellow Jew, and yet you are filling up your heart with hatred. So on one hand, you're already violating and canceling out the positive commandment. Nevertheless, at the same time, oiver gam alav, you're also transgressing a negative prohibition, which is the loisisna es achicha bilvavecha. You are not allowed to hate your fellow Jew in your heart. You cannot hate another Jew. It's a terrible avera, as he's about to write. And he writes very powerful words over here. These are from the biggest and the most grievous of sins that you can find in the Torah. Asher Amr Perek Beis Avos, we'll come back, we'll explain, like it says in Pirkei Avos, V'sinas habriyos maitzin es ha'adam min ha'olam. If a person hates other people, it is mitzi, it removes him from this world. A person is going to lose this world, and they could end up losing the world to come because they fill up their hearts with sinas chinam. Uba avos the Rabbi Nosson per Gud Beis Isa, and in the avos the Rabbi Nosson it says, Anshe Sdoim, that terrible city of Sdoim, mitoich shayusaynim zeh, because they hated each other. They were lost from this world and from the world to come. So says the Beis HaLevi over here, these very serious words, and that is that the lav, the prohibition of hating another Jew in your heart, it's me'averos hagedolos shebatayra. It is from the biggest, the worst, the most grievous of the sins that you will find in the Torah. What's the reason that this is such a terrible avera? There's many. Murder is a terrible avera. Eating treif is a terrible avera. Being mechal Shabbos is a terrible avera. Speaking lashon hara is a terrible avera. There's many averas that are in the Torah, many sins that are terrible, and yet the Beis HaLevi uses such a strong language over here. Me'averas hagedolos shebatorah. This is from the biggest averas in the Torah. You want to put it right up there with gila arayis, with illicit relations. Put it right up there with avodah zarah and shvichas damim. The big three are terrible. This the Beis HaLevi is saying is, it's from the biggest of the sins. Why is it so terrible? The HaChaim explains in the Sefer AHAVAS Chesed that every mitzvah that a person does brings kedusha and tahara down to his body, to that limb that corresponds to that mitzvah. For example, a person he gives tzedakah. He does a mitzvah of giving tzedakah, of giving charity. It infuses kedusha in his hand. The hand that gave tzedakah will be infused with kedusha. Every sin that a person does, it brings down a ruach hatum, a spirit of impurity, to the limb that will correspond to that particular avera. For example, let's say that a person ends up going and they kill somebody, Rahman al-Islam, God forbid. So that hand that they pulled the trigger with, that hand now is filled with the ruach hatuma, the spirit of tuma. Every mitzvah and every avera corresponds to a different part of the person's body. Some parts are more valuable than others, and therefore if I sin with something that is much stronger, much greater, the impact is much worse. Says the HaChaim, the sin of leisisna es achicha b'vavecha, you're not allowed to hate your fellow Jew in your heart. That means that if a person is bearing hatred and he's brooding hatred inside of his heart is going to be filled with a ruach hatuma, a spirit of impurity is going to come upon him. And that will be tantamount to spiritual heart disease. The heart is the battery pack of the body. The heart is the battery pack of all my ruchnis, my avodas Hashem. And if the heart is maligned with the ruach hatuma, with the spirit of impurity, that means that the most powerful and perhaps most important part of the body now is decreased in its abilities because it's afflicted with the plague of hating another Jew inside of your heart. You've destroyed the heart. And as a result, says the Beis Halevi, Me'averos ha'gedolah shebatorah, this is the worst of the sins that you could possibly find in the Torah. And how careful we have to be to make sure that not only do we mekayim the mitzvah v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, we have to love our fellow Jew in our heart. We have to make sure that the only thing that's in that heart is ava, is love, and we have to eradicate and erase any feelings of sina, of hatred, from our hearts to the best of our abilities. Have a wonderful day.